In Ujima, a beautiful bride faces unimaginable tragedies on her wedding nights, unraveling a shocking curse rooted in betrayal. What will it take to break the cycle and find happiness again? Decades ago in the communal village of Ujima, resided a young lady, the cherished offspring of Ano and Efer, as the sole child of their prosperous farming household. Possessed both striking beauty and an admirable demeanor, a significant event was on the horizon for her family. Her close companion Albina had sought her hand in marriage, and Albina's bond dated back to their early years. Their affection for one another was profound, leading them to formally commit to their relationship. Ano, her father, was overjoyed by the news, particularly gratified that his daughter had brought no dishonor upon their home. Ano promptly conveyed the joyful tidings to his two brothers, initiating preparations for the marital rites. Ano's elder brother Aikna expressed immense delight at the announcement, while his younger brother Azuka appeared strangely detached. Instead of offering congratulations, Azuka queried Ano, "The haste in marrying off your daughter, she is but a mere child, or is there something else you're not telling us?" At this, their eldest brother Aikna sharply cautioned Azuka, forbidding him from uttering such malicious words again. Aikna told Azuka, "You ought to be praying that your three unmarried daughters find the same favor as and secure partners too, or do you wish them to languish in your home indefinitely?" Aikna then advised Ano to instruct his prospective in-laws to collect the dowry list on the morning appointed. For the wedding of her uncle, Aikna dispatched his son Amadi to the village's skilled palm wine tapper, tasking him with acquiring 2 gourds of fresh palm wine for the ceremony. Upon Amadi's return with the gourds, he carried them and followed his father to Ano's homestead, which was meticulously arranged for the day's festivities. Ano conveyed deep gratitude to his elder brother for his thoughtfulness and generosity. Within the dwelling was being adorned by her friends. They bubbled with happiness for her, endlessly questioning her about her future husband. Abina, behind the house, her mother Efer was tending to a colossal pot of egusi soup, while her friends diligently helped pound fufu and prepare the accompanying dishes. Palpable sense of joy filled the air, and everyone contributed kindly in their own small ways. Finally, Albina arrived with his kin merely 10 minutes after their arrival. Azuka, Ano's younger brother, made his appearance. Aikna and Ano chose to disregard him, focusing their attention entirely on their esteemed in-laws. Following the ceremony, accompanied her husband and his family to their home. Poor, she was utterly unaware that the happiest day of her existence was poised to become the most sorrowful, casting a lifelong shadow of stigma. That very night before the marriage could be consummated, Albina succumbed to a profound slumber, rendering him unable to fulfill his conjugal duties. With early the next morning awakened the entire village with a piercing shriek. She fled the house, wailing uncontrollably. People immediately converged, only to discover that Albina lay dead. A truly devastating revelation's grief was boundless. She collapsed onto the ground, weeping bitterly. Confusion rippled through the crowd. They murmured, "Didn't he just get married yesterday? How can he be dead? Was he ill before?" Amidst the pandemonium and lamentations, Azuka, her younger paternal uncle, began to voice his thoughts. "I knew something was amiss. My intuition never betrays me. I never endorsed this union. Now see what has transpired." Hearing this, his wife swiftly pulled him aside, imploring him not to utter such words again, lest people accuse him of complicity in the tragedy. Azuka merely shrugged and departed. It was a standing decree in Umujima that if a marriage remained unconsummated before the husband's demise, the wife was to revert to her paternal abode, and so returned home, mourning Albina's loss for many months. A year later, captured the attention of a young man named Epin. He wasted no time arriving with his family to settle bride price. Regrettably, the same affliction that had marred her first marriage struck again, and Epin too perished on their wedding night. This time, the villagers' reaction was starkly different. Instead of compassion, they harbored revulsion and animosity towards. Malicious whispers began to circulate. "Once may be an accident," they asserted, "but twice is certainly not, nor even a coincidence. Must be a sorceress." They went as far as cautioning their sons and daughters to steer clear of, if they wished to preserve their lives. Lost all her companions, she became ostracized, and no one dared to approach her, not even her cousins. Azuka's 3 daughters, in her profound anguish. Only her cousin Amadi, Aikna's son, continued to offer her company, and Amadi had been inseparable since childhood, and even this pervasive stigma did not deter Amadi from associating with her. He regarded her as the younger sister he had never had. As the stigma persisted, life in Ujima became unbearable, for prompting her parents to decide that she should relocate to her maternal village Umaka, where her history was unknown, allowing her to forge a new beginning. Assented and prepared for her departure to her mother's ancestral home. However, before she left, she confided in Amadi, who wished her well. In Umaka, embarked on a new chapter. Her exceptional character and captivating beauty soon attracted young men eager to marry her without delay. Initially was filled with apprehension, haunted by her past experiences, but after persistent encouragement from her mother and Amadi, who visited her periodically urging her to remain hopeful, she resolved to yield and accept one of the marriage proposals. Alas, if only wishes were tangible. The identical tragedy unfolded for the third time, leaving utterly devastated. She swore never to enter into matrimony again in her lifetime. She felt a crushing guilt for the lives of those young men that had been lost, even wishing for her own demise. She decided to return to her paternal land and live each day as it came, yet she was unequivocally certain that she would never again risk marriage. Akachuku had recently returned to Ujima after completing his studies he had been observing. Time noting her distinctive and withdrawn demeanor unlike other young women in the village, he sensed something extraordinary about her, and soon began to inquire about her from others. To his astonishment, anyone he asked reacted with fright and immediately walked away perplexed. He resolved to question his own mother. When he described to his mother, she immediately flared up, vehemently warning him never to utter her name again. Akachuku was aghast, and pressed his mother for the reason behind her outburst. She offered no explanation. Akachuku probed, "Is she an outcast?" His mother retorted, "She is worse than an outcast. Just heed my words, and never inquire about her again." Akachuku was baffled but determined that night to uncover the truth. The following day he positioned himself on the path leading to his family farm, awaiting her passage. He hadn't waited long when he spotted approaching. He approached her, but as he attempted to speak, she abruptly turned in the opposite direction and fled. Akachuku watched more bewildered than before. He was not one to yield, so the next day he went and concealed himself on her father's farm, anticipating her arrival. When she appeared, he quietly emerged and spoke softly. "I don't understand why everyone considers you a curse or why you ran from me yesterday, but I want you to know I mean no harm. I simply wish to be your friend." Was stunned that this stranger dared to approach her. Has he not heard? She mused to herself. She couldn't escape this time, so she said, "Please stay away from me. It is for your own good. Don't let anyone see you standing here with me." Akachuku instead asked her, "What is your name?" "No one would even utter it to me." She replied, "My name is." "Please leave now." Akachuku responded, "All right, I'll go, but understand that I will not give up." Was deeply troubled. It had been 4 years since any man had spoken to her. She felt pity for this young man and wished he would simply return from whence he came. Akachuku, on the other hand, was resolutely determined to dismantle the conspiracy of silence surrounding. So he visited the village bar, purchasing a cup of palm wine for the renowned village drunkard. With this offering, the drunkard divulged that had married several husbands, but they had all perished on their wedding night. He continued cautioning Akachuku not to reveal a word of this to anyone, as it was considered an abomination in the village. At that moment, Akachuku comprehended the reason for the discrimination, yet he found it peculiar that no one had attempted to help her. The next time he saw her, he informed her that he was aware of her predicament, but he was unafraid, vowing to assist her and take her as his wife. Was shocked and hurried to tell her mother about this. Her mother was equally astonished, but she advised to relax and observe how events unfolded. Who knows, she suggested, he might be destined to put an end to all these afflictions. From that day forward began to relax, and she and Akachuku grew closer. People soon began to see them together, and whispers started when Akachuku's mother discovered their association. She was enraged and harshly reprimanded Akachuku. She even went as far as confronting his mother, demanding that her witch daughter remove the spell she had supposedly cast on her son. However, despite his mother's warnings and pleas, Akachuku was resolute in his intent to marry. What they did not realize was that Akachuku had already confided in his pastor, and his pastor had assured him that the malevolent spirit responsible for these tragedies must be exposed. The following day, Akachuku visited her. He informed her of his desire to come and meet her family before could object. He added that prior to the marriage, he wished to invite a powerful man of God to conduct prayers at her father's house. If she didn't mind, sighed and responded, "Alas, we have summoned numerous native doctors and pastors before, yet nothing ever changed. How can I be certain this one will achieve anything? I don't want to lose you. I prefer us to remain friends, and for you to be alive rather than to marry and lose you. Please, Akachuku, it is for your own benefit." Akachuku gazed at her and reassured her, "Just trust me, we will conquer it together." This time, on the designated day, the pastor arrived with 2 prayer warriors, and Akachuku led them to his house. Had already informed her parents, and they were all anticipating Akachuku and the pastor. They arrived shortly and promptly began to pray. As the prayers intensified, the pastor received a revelation and drew their attention to it. He declared, "There is an enemy within, a friendly foe who has tormented for a long time." And her parents exchanged confused glances. The pastor continued, "Do you have any other family members?" Anna replied, "I have 2 brothers and their families." The pastor instructed him to send for them, explaining, "This will be a family liberation." Aikna and Azuka soon arrived with their wives and children, all looking bewildered. As soon as they entered, the pastor intensified his prayers, supported by his 2 prayer warriors. What transpired next stunned everyone. Azuka grew impatient and attempted to depart. Simultaneously, Aikna began to shout, "Who brought this man here?" He hadn't even finished speaking when he collapsed to the ground, agony screaming for assistance. Everyone was taken aback, and Ano moved to help his brother up, but the pastor halted him. "Do not touch him." The pastor commanded, "God will expose the secret adversary today. Speak in the name of Jesus." Aikna then began his confession. "Please forgive me. I don't know what possessed me to do what I did. I was envious of my brothers because they had daughters while I had none. I was jealous that their daughters would marry men who would begin to bring them abundant gifts. I cast a spell on that caused all her husbands to die on their wedding night." At this point, fell to the ground weeping. Everyone shouted in disbelief. Aikna continued, When she went to Yumaka, I still obtained information about her. From Amadi, my son, and I was able to manipulate her weddings from here. That is why I wasn't concerned about stopping Amadi's friendship with he was my eyes. Aikna also admitted. I also caused Azuka's 3 daughters to remain unmarried. I cast a spell on them that made them appear unsightly whenever any man saw them. Please forgive me. I deeply regret my actions. Everyone present was shocked and terrified, including Amadi and his mother, the pastor, then proceeded to pray for the spells to be broken, and for Aikna to receive forgiveness after the pastor and his group had departed. Aikna called his brothers and their families, earnestly pleading for everyone's forgiveness. Azuka was particularly incensed, as his elder brother had always presented himself as righteous, unaware that he was the true malevolence. However, after much entreaty, they all forgave him and reconciled. Akachuku arrived with his people to pay's bride price, and they were wed the day after their wedding. Akachuku was the first to awaken her upon seeing him alive, exhaled a profound sigh of relief. Akachuku later established a business in a neighboring town, taking with him to reside there. Furthermore, Azuka's daughters also began to attract eligible suitors, and in less than a year all of them found partners and married. The lesson embedded in this narrative is to exercise caution regarding whom we entrust. Often those we perceive as our adversaries may be harmless, while those who appear friendly can harbor true malevolence. Additionally, when someone seeks to inflict harm upon us, the simplest conduit for them to gather information is through our acquaintances. Therefore, be judicious about how much information you divulge to your companions. Thank you for observing. What ethical insight do you draw from this tale? Share with us in the comment section. Subscribe for more narratives of this kind, and please like and share with your cherished ones. Until I present another story, farewell. What ethical lessons did you draw from this story? Share in the comments and subscribe for more captivating tales.